When a CEO asked a janitor for company at her party, an amazing truth was revealed: heartwarming. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden hue across the small town. Children dashed between stalls of cotton candy and sizzling hot dogs, their laughter ringing out like music. At the center of the celebration stood Emily, the determined CEO of a booming tech company, her charm radiating as brightly as her sequin dress. But there was Henry, the janitor, watching from the edges. He wore simple clothes, his hands rough but warm. For decades, he quietly nurtured the students at the local school, sweeping up scraps while planting seeds of encouragement. At this lively event, his heart swelled as he observed Emily's success, yet an ache resided deep within him, wondering if his contributions would ever be recognized. As the evening danced on, Emily caught sight of Henry standing alone. Something in his gentle demeanor tugged at her heart. Fueled by a surprising impulse, she gracefully approached him, extending an invitation to join her circle. The laughter and chatter faded into the background, and as he stepped in, it felt like worlds were colliding. "Tell me about yourself," she prompted, her interest genuine. Henry's voice was steady but soft. "I've spent my life helping kids find their way. I guess you could say I'm a guide more than a janitor." Emily listened intently as images of children's dreams unfolded in Henry's stories: a shy girl who excelled at art, a boy who hid behind his insecurities until he found his passion for music. His words held weight, each dripping with resilience, and she felt the weight of his sincerity. Just as the night reached a delicious crescendo, the vibrations of laughter were shattered by an urgent message on Emily's phone: her company was plummeting towards disaster. Crisis loomed, whispers of layoffs danced dangerously through the air. Her heart raced. A stark contrast loomed between her corporate ambitions and Henry's genuine commitment to his community. In this moment of uncertainty, she turned to Henry, who stood steadfast amidst the chaos. His eyes had depth, they told tales of battles fought in silence. "Sometimes, it's not worth it," he ventured, taking a breath, "to sacrifice people for profits." With those words, he sparked a flicker of clarity within her. Would she choose the easy path of cutthroat decisions or a harder journey rooted in integrity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Feeling the weight of his words and her own rising uncertainty, Emily knew the decision before her mattered not just for her company, but for every Henry out there, every worker, every caregiver, every unseen hero. The air was thick with expectation. She could either hold firm to her ambition or embrace a profound shift in her identity as a leader. Would she rise to challenge the status quo, or would she buckle under the pressure? With the vibrant fireworks illuminating the evening sky, Emily stood at the crossroads, a decision looming, questioning the very essence of success and who it truly served. Emily's heart raced, but she didn't allow fear to overpower her resolve. The laughter that had surrounded her moments ago felt distant now, replaced by the heavy reality of her situation. She glanced toward Henry, who stood simply, a patient strength radiating from him. The citizens of this small town, the children he had nurtured, the dreams he fostered, all played back in her mind like fleeting images, each one urging her towards a choice. "Henry," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "what should I do?" His brow furrowed in thought, and after a moment, he replied, "Look beyond the numbers. Every layoff isn't just a statistic, it's a person with a story. You have the power to change lives." His words felt like sunlight breaking through the clouds, illuminating a path she hadn't considered before. Emily nodded, heart swelled with emotion. The party continued around them, but she was beginning to see her mission differently. She remembered the faces of her employees, the mothers juggling work and childcare, the recent college grads pouring their hopes into the projects they loved. They weren't just workers, they were the heartbeat of the company. As the fireworks burst overhead, she made her decision. I can't keep chasing success at the cost of human beings. A soft smile broke through her worry as she turned back to Henry. Thank you. Thank you for helping me see what really matters. Henry's expression softened. It's easy to forget when you're caught up in the hustle. But at the end of the day, we're all in this together. People remember how you make them feel, not just what you achieve. The sincerity in his voice was a balm to her troubled spirit. Feeling emboldened, she pulled out her phone, scrolling through emails. She needed to take immediate action, reaching out to her board could wait. Instead, she typed a message to her team, inviting everyone to come together for a town meeting the next day. No layoff discussions, just an open forum to hear their fears, ideas, and hopes. As fireworks flickered and faded, Emily felt a profound shift within herself. The noisy world of the party began to fade into the background as she focused simply on connection and courage. She felt lighter, no longer burdened by the need to conform to a ruthless corporate culture. Henry was still by her side, a calm presence anchoring her amidst the celebratory chaos. She said, "Together, will you help me see what we can build?" "Absolutely," Henry replied, a twinkle in his eye as if this was his purpose after all. A sense of destiny washed over them, swirling with the fireworks sparks. The evening was alive with possibility. Just then, a light shone in the distance, starting small, and then growing brighter. A local news van had arrived. Their cameras were rolling, broadcasting the town's gathering to a wider audience. Emily looked at Henry, a mix of hope and uncertainty. What if they ask about layoffs? Then you tell them the truth, Henry encouraged softly, the weight of the moment resting on them both. Could she really face the world with her decision? Could she redefine success not just for herself, but for every worker counting on her? As the camera focused on her, she took a deep breath, ready to share her heart with those who needed to hear it. Would she be bold enough to change the narrative of her company for good? The moment of truth lay before her, thick with tension and opportunity. Emily felt the weight of the cameras on her, and for a fleeting moment, doubt surged like a tide. The air hummed with anticipation as onlookers adjusted their phones, keen to capture whatever she would say next. The edges of her vision blurred, focusing only on the bright light illuminating her truth. She squared her shoulders, the resolve she'd found mingling with vulnerable uncertainty. As she opened her mouth, the words tumbled out, raw and honest. "Tonight, I want to start a dialogue," she began, her voice quaking yet fierce. "I want to talk about more than numbers and profit margins. Tonight, we're celebrating not just our successes, but the people whose lives are woven into this fabric we call a company." A murmur rippled through the crowd. There were curious expressions and nods of agreement. The energy shifted, palpable and magnetic. Instead of looking for validation from the boardroom or the media, she chose connection, the kind that sparks change. "We've found ourselves lost in the race for success," she continued, "and in doing so, we've forgotten the faces that make it all possible." Her eyes scanned the familiar faces in the crowd, those bustling towards the back, the ones who approached hesitantly. She caught sight of Sarah, a part-time worker striving to balance her studies with work, and Kevin, a seasoned employee worried about the future of his son, just starting college. The crowd fell silent, each person absorbing her impassioned words as they resonated personally. Emily pressed on, drawing strength from their stillness. "I cannot and will not lay off anyone without understanding their story, their struggle. Let us talk, share ideas, and maybe even grow together. Together." The atmosphere shifted again, and she felt a spark of courage ignite within her. Around her, the crowd started to nod, faces brightening with hope. Inspiring murmurs swept through like a gentle breeze. "Yes." An encouraging voice called from the back. It was an employee. "We want to help." Encouragement bloomed amongst them, with more voices rising in affirmation. Emily felt the knot in her stomach loosen. This was unity, a collective heartbeat ready to push towards a brighter future. Henry's supportive gaze lingered on her, a silent affirmation that she had made the right choice. He stepped forward to join her at the front. This isn't just about Emily anymore, he asserted, his voice strengthening. This is about all of us, moving forward together, sustaining each other's dreams. The crowd erupted in applause, the claps growing louder, infusing their space with an electric energy. Pain and worry seemed to dissipate. In that moment, she wasn't just a CEO, she was a leader embodying hope. Yet, right as she began to breathe easier, a sharp question rang out from the back, penetrating the celebration like a thunderclap. What about those layoffs? They're still on the table, right? A hush fell over the crowd, anticipation hung heavy in the air. Emily's heart raced again, uncertainty gnawing at her. Would she falter now, giving in to fear, or would she stand firm and embrace this unfolding moment? She turned to Henry for just a split second, searching his face for guidance, steeling herself for the turning point that could redefine everything they'd just built together. Emotions swirled like wildfire within her. Could she truly face the hard reality while keeping alive the hope ignited in others? The answer awaited in the silence, pressing heavily, begging for resolution. Maybe it was indeed time for a new chapter, one she knew would change everything. Emily stood at the center of the stage, feeling the weight of the world in those few seconds following the challenging question. The air seemed to thicken, a collective breath held by the crowd as they awaited her response. She could hear her heartbeat, loud and frantic, each thud echoing in her mind. The glimmer of hope they'd built together felt fragile, like a bubble ready to burst. With every eye upon her, Emily realized this was no longer just about her. It was about each person in that room, even the janitor who mopped the floors after long shifts. They were all threads in the intricate tapestry of her company. She took a deep breath, her chest rising with determination. Those layoffs, she began, the words rolling out with care. I don't want them to define us. Every single person is vital to our growth and success. But I also understand the numbers matter to our future. She paused, weighing her next words. I refuse to let decisions be made in a vacuum. Instead, I'm committed to finding a way to keep us all moving forward. A murmur of apprehension mixed with hope cascaded through the crowd. She could see skepticism etched across some faces, while others leaned in, eager to hear more. We've had good years, yes, but we've also faced challenges. And if we're being honest, this moment is an opportunity for growth, for change, and for creating unity. I want to hear from you, she urged, gesturing toward those who had stood back in silence. Our struggles don't just belong to the top, they're shared by everyone. Kevin. What do you think? Kevin blinked in surprise, suddenly feeling the weight of her gaze. I think we need more transparency, he replied, his voice unsteady but rising in confidence. If layoffs are on the table, we all deserve to know how those decisions affect our lives. We're all in this together, and I want to help find a way forward. The crowd reacted, a blend of murmurs of agreement and nods cascading. Emily felt a spark light within her, a sense of camaraderie blooming. This was the kind of connection she yearned for, this was the essence of true leadership. Let's start a group, she suggested, her heart swelling with newfound resolve. A team made of people from all levels of our company, janitor to VP. Let's discuss challenges, solutions, and how we can improve our workplace together. Hand after hand shot up in the audience, volunteers eager to be a part of this newfound initiative. She scanned the crowd, feeling waves of optimism radiating from face to face. As the applause rang out again, Emily felt an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. Hope it was more infectious than she had imagined. Just then, a light bulb moment sparked in her mind. And we'll hold our first meeting after this party, right back here. No question is off the table. Everyone is welcome. The crowd erupted into laughter and cheers, a ripple of excitement coursing through the air. And just like that, her anxious heart began to ease as discussion started filling the room with energy and purpose. Despite the looming challenges, she felt the winds of change at her back, but then, as laughter still echoed and smiles danced on everyone's faces, a different voice broke through the din. A quiet figure emerged from the rear of the crowd. Sharon, the janitor. She hesitated, clutching her mop as if it were a lifeline. Can I share something too? Eyes shifted toward her, and the chatter quieted once more. Emily's heart raced with anticipation. What would Sharon have to say? Something told her it would be important. Please, Sharon, Emily urged, leaning closer, ready to embrace whatever wisdom was about to unfold. Sharon took a deep breath, stepping forward, and Emily could sense the turning point dissolving in the air. Could this be the revelation that brought deeper understanding? What truth would emerge from the heart of the company's steadfast yet silent guardian? Sharon's grip on the mop relaxed slightly, and she steadied herself to speak in front of a crowd that seemed both unfamiliar and supportive. Her voice, slightly shaky but growing stronger with each word, carried through the hall. I've been with this company for over 20 years, she began, her gaze sweeping across the room. I know a lot of you don't see me, but I see all of you. The crowd remained quiet, the air thick with curiosity. Emily felt a tightening in her chest as she sensed the palpable shift in energy. Every day, I watch as people come and go, bringing laughter, joy, and often, worries. I've seen companies rise and fall. I've cleaned your floors while hearing your stories, both the good and the bad. Sharon paused, her eyes glistening under the overhead lights, and Emily felt a collective breath held in the room. This was getting real, and everyone could feel it. It's easy to forget the little things, the laughter in the break room, the moments we share at the coffee machine, but those moments build us, she continued. I've seen how hard you work, how much passion you put into this place. And I know this moment feels heavy. Change scares us. The thought of layoffs, it's daunting. A few heads nodded, emotions bubbling up to the surface. I want you all to remember, we are a family here. Just as I sweep these floors, I sweep away the worries that burden our community. You might think I'm just a janitor, but I also carry the stories of the people in this room. And believe me when I say your stories matter. Sharon's words hung in the air, creating a sense of unity that transcended titles. Emily felt a warmth spreading through her heart. It was as if all the vulnerability had transformed into a call for action and solidarity. She saw heads lift higher, the anxiety of uncertainty melting away under the power of shared experience. I think we all need to come together even at our lowest points, Sharon urged, her voice carrying an undeniable strength. What better way to move forward than to learn from each other? If we can listen to one another, we can thrive. The crowd erupted in spontaneous applause, sensing the impact of her message. Emily could hardly believe how a simple call for unity told through Sharon's perspective could shift their understanding. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for your wisdom, Emily said, her voice thick with appreciation as she wiped at the unexpected tears gathering in her eyes. This is the spirit we need to harness moving forward. Your insight is powerful and connects us all. But even amidst the praise and collective hope, a flicker of unease remained for Emily. She thought about the complexities hidden beneath the surface of the company and knew they faced many more discussions before they could truly move forward. Could this newfound bond withstand the challenges ahead? As the meeting wound down, excitement lingered in the air. Plans began forming, but beneath the surface, Emily felt the ripple of uncertainty. There was so much at stake. How would they keep this momentum going in their next meeting? Would everyone really commit to openness, even the ones who were terrified of change? Just as the crowd began to disperse, a familiar face loomed before her. Kevin, his brow furrowed with concern. Emily, we need to address one more thing before we leave. There's something we haven't discussed fully, and it could change everything. She could feel her heart racing again as her attention snapped to him. What crucial piece of information did Kevin want to reveal, and how could it impact their fragile hope? Kevin's gaze held Emily's firmly. There was a seriousness in his eyes that sent a chill down her spine. You remember last week when we discussed possible layoffs? He began, his voice low and steady. There's been more conversation behind the scenes than any of us realized. Emily could feel her pulse quicken. She had thought the worst was behind them after Sharon's unifying speech. A hot wash of dread swept over her, quelling any hope that had sparked moments before. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kevin took a deep breath before continuing. "The company has been crunching numbers. There are options for cuts we hadn't even begun to consider." I wasn't supposed to say anything, but his voice trailed off momentarily, scanning the room to gauge who else might be listening. "But?" she pressed, her heart racing. "I heard that one of those options includes cutting jobs starting with the ones who don't bring in revenue directly," he said, his eyes darting around nervously. "That means people like Sharon, people who hold the team together through solidarity and spirit rather than just profit margins, could be first." A lump formed in Emily's throat. She imagined the fear on Sharon's face if she lost her job. The thought of it snapped her mind back to the impact of Sharon's speech, the power in how she laid bare the heart of their workplace. "That's wrong," she said firmly. "Sharon keeps us together. Without her spirit, we'll have nothing." "I agree," Kevin replied, his expression softening with understanding. "But how do we make that voice heard? We need to rally before it's too late. If we don't put forward a united front, that bond we just felt could shatter." As he spoke, the room began to fill with murmurings of what Kevin had shared. Faces grimaced in concern, eyes darted to one another, and the weight of uncertainty pooled again. Emily could feel the ripple of fear igniting in the crowd, threatening to extinguish the lingering warmth of hope Sharon had ignited. "Look," Kevin said, urgency rising in his tone, "I know it feels heavy, but we have to stand together. Sharon showed us the strength of our community. We need to lean into that instead of allowing fear to drive us apart. We can't let this slip away." In that moment, Emily felt a surge of determination. "I know that if we come together, we can show the higher-ups our value," she declared, glancing at the crowd, who now seemed to be joining in strength. "We are more than numbers on a balance sheet. Just like Sharon said, we have stories." Encouraged murmurs fanned out among the employees, and Emily sensed a flicker of fire igniting once more. "Let us organize a meeting in open forum. Everyone can voice their concerns and ideas," she suggested, gaining momentum. "We can reach out to management. We can make them listen." Nods of agreement emerged, along with hushed affirmations bubbling through the crowd. Hope bloomed again, but there was still doubt lingering beneath the surface. Could they truly bring about change? Would management really listen to them when they felt the weight of decisions pressing down? Suddenly, Kevin pointed towards the entrance. "Look, it's the executive team," he muttered, eyes wide. "They could hear us." Emily's breath caught in her throat. Had they overheard? How would they respond to the whispers of resistance rising all around them? Her heart raced, knowing this could be the moment that decided their fate. Would they stand up for themselves, or would they let fear take the lead? As the executives entered, all eyes fell upon Emily, a sudden responsibility settling in her chest. What would she say to them, with her heart racing and a company's future hanging in the balance? Emily's heart raced in her chest when the tall executive stepped through the doorway. She could see their polished shoes gliding across the floor, their eyes scanning the room like hawks searching for prey. Each flicker of their gaze sent a jolt of unease through her. They were, after all, the very people who held their livelihoods in their hands. Kevin's hand brushed hers, a silent reminder that she wasn't alone. She could feel his pulse echoing with so much unspoken support. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she tried to gather her thoughts. But what word would capture the urgency of this moment? What could she say to make them understand? "Emily," Kevin whispered, nudging her gently, bringing her back to the present. Before she could respond, one of the executives, a sharply dressed woman with an air of authority, cleared her throat. "Good morning, everyone," she said, her voice smooth but impersonal. "We heard some commotion. What is going on here?" Emily stepped forward, nervously brushing her hair behind her ear as she willed herself to find her voice. "We've been discussing the possibility of layoffs," she began, her heart pounding, "and how it could affect our team and the spirit of our workplace." A collective murmur swept through the crowd behind her, and she felt the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. This was at the moment for them to share their truth, their concerns, their stories. Sharon, our team leader, is the glue that binds us all. Without her, Emily continued, we lose more than just a colleague, we lose our sense of community, our heart. We believe that together we're more valuable than what a balance sheet shows us. The executives exchanged glances, some wearing skeptical expressions. Emily's chest tightened, but she pressed on. You might be looking at numbers, but we're all human beings with families and stories. We aren't just targets for cuts. We want to show you what we bring to this company beyond revenue. The silence that followed felt heavy, yet it was filled with unspoken tension. Emily could see the employees behind her, their faces bright with determination. The woman who had spoken earlier seemed taken aback, clearly torn between her corporate stance and the passion sparking from the crowd. Let us say we hear you, she replied cautiously. What do you propose instead? Emily took a deep breath, scanning the anxious faces around her. We could have an open forum. We can share our projects, our successes, and how we've contributed to the business. If we can show our worth together, you might see how cutting jobs isn't the solution. Another executive chimed in. But how do you plan to organize this? Change doesn't happen overnight. Kevin stepped forward, his voice steady. We're committed. We'll gather stories and data, showcase our impact, and work hard to pay our worth. But we need your support. We need to know you're with us. For a moment, uncertainty flickered across their faces. Emily could feel the tide turning, and it gave her hope. But they weren't out of the woods yet. The CEO finally spoke, her tone softer. I'll consider your request, but know that change is difficult. Emily nodded, a surge of relief washing over her. We can't promise every voice will matter right away, but if we start this conversation, perhaps it can lead to something truly transformative. As the executives turned to leave, a wave of cautious optimism spread amongst the staff. Emily looked to Kevin, his eyes shining with belief. Yet, just then, a voice shattered their moment of relief. What if we're wasting our breath? A quiet employee lamented, folding her arms. Emily turned, her heart sinking. Could doubt snuff out the newfound light? Would they really find the strength to push forward as a united front? Everything felt on the edge of a cliff, and Emily wondered, would they leap together or turn back in fear? Emily felt her stomach twist at the sudden wave of uncertainty. The quiet employee's voice echoed in her mind, twisting like a thorn. It was a grim reminder that doubt lurked even in moments of potential progress. She looked back at her colleagues, their faces a mix of hope and worry. Would they let fear overtake their courage? Listen, Emily said, her voice stronger than she felt. Every movement starts with one voice. We're stronger than we think, and we owe it to each other to at least try. The murmurs behind her shifted. Some still looked skeptical, but she could see flickers of resolve sparking in their eyes. Kevin beside her nodded, encouraging her to keep going. Let us also remember that Sharon is just one part of the team. We all contribute in our own unique ways. A few people in the crowd began to lean in, listening more intently. We need to show them how much we care about this place, about each other. A tall man named Greg, usually quiet and reserved, stepped forward. Emily's right. We've poured our hearts into this company. I'm willing to share my successes. Let us highlight all our achievements. A spark of enthusiasm rippled through the group. Emily's spirit lifted, encouraged by Greg's bravery. She could see others nodding, catching on to the idea. Exactly. Another voice spoke up. We all have projects we're proud of. If we form a solid plan, maybe we'll succeed. As their voices rose, a sense of camaraderie filled the room. Each person seemed to shed a layer of doubt, inspired by the collective desire to stand together. Emily felt a warmth blossom in her chest. This was the community she had feared losing, just as Emily thought they might be getting somewhere, the same employee who had expressed doubt spoke again, her brows furrowing. But what if they don't listen? What if it doesn't change anything? Suddenly, Kevin chimed in, his tone filled with conviction. That's a risk we take, a risk worth taking. We owe it to ourselves to fight for what we believe. Even if it feels small, every step gets us closer to change. Silence fell again, but this time it felt different. There was a tangible energy, a current of hope thrumming through the air. The executives were still hovering at the exit, listening. Emily could see their faces shifting, processing the resolve from the employees in the room. Were they reconsidering? Okay, Emily said, swallowing hard. How about we meet to brainstorm? We can gather this energy and put it to good use. Let us shout about our victories and share the stories that need to be heard. Cheers erupted from the crowd, filling her with a mix of pride and anticipation. They were on the cusp of something, but just when she thought they were on the brink of action, the door swung open so fiercely that it echoed against the walls. The shadow of the CEO loomed, her expression unreadable. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, she said, stepping inside. Emily's heart pounded again as the room fell silent, all eyes on the CEO. Would she shoot down their newfound hopes? Or could this be the moment that turned everything around? What do you mean to accomplish here? The CEO asked, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her employees. The question hung heavy in the air, demanding an answer that felt monumental. Emily took a deep breath. Was she ready for this? Would her answer hold the weight of their dreams? The room held its breath, a collective heartbeat waiting for her response. Emily's heart raced like a wild horse. She felt the weight of her colleagues' expectations pressing down on her, each heartbeat pulsing louder in her ears. With a shaky breath, she stepped forward. I believe we all want to be heard, she began, her voice trembling. We've put in hard work, dedication, and care into this company. We aren't just employees, we're a family. Each of us has something to contribute, something worth celebrating. It's time we show that. As she spoke, she saw flickers of understanding from her coworkers. Kevin seemed more animated, and Greg's face glowed with determination. There was electricity in the room, a shift that made the atmosphere thrum. The CEO watched her intently, an eyebrow raised. Emily couldn't tell if she was impressed or just curious. And what exactly do you wish to show me? She asked, crossing her arms. There was a hint of challenge in her tone, but Emily sensed a crack opening, a glimmer of possibility. What if we created a presentation showcasing our achievements? We could highlight each department's successes, tell our stories, and explain how these victories not only benefit us but the company as well. We need to show the heart of this organization, and it starts with us. Her voice grew in confidence. This is our chance to change the narrative, to prove that we care about the future of our company. The room had filled with murmurs, and to her surprise, she noticed the executives shifting slightly. The CEO exchanged a glance with her supervisor, her expression revealing nothing, but Emily could feel the charge in the air, the weight of hope and fear spinning around them like a whirlwind. Interesting, the CEO finally replied, her gaze penetrating. But what's your plan? It sounds ambitious, and I want to know what you think will happen when you present all this. Emily narrowed her focus, determined not to lose the momentum they had built. We will present not only numbers and charts but the personal stories behind our impact. Each one of us, every department, every success. We want to bring the company back to its roots. We're not just cogs in a machine. We're passionate people, driven by a common goal. A slow nod from the CEO caught Emily by surprise. Was it approval or merely consideration? Well then, she said, if this is to be a comprehensive presentation, you have my support. Gasps filled the room. Emily felt her heart leap. She searched the faces in the crowd, then met Kevin's gaze, who nodded with gleaming eyes. I'll schedule a meeting for next week to finalize details, the CEO continued, but I expect serious dedication from each of you. No half measures. With that, the CEO turned to leave, and the tension in the room evaporated. Cheers erupted, and Emily felt buoyed by an overwhelming wave of relief and excitement. They had taken a monumental step forward. As laughter and chatter filled the room, Emily's heart swelled. Yes, she was scared. Yes, the road ahead was uncertain. But they had a chance, a flickering flame to rally around. Suddenly, a voice broke through the jubilation. Wait. It was the same quiet employee who had spoken earlier. What if they changed their mind before we even present? The room quieted again, the nagging worry rekindling the shadows of doubt. Would they lose this momentum? Emily's stomach twisted with worry, but she knew they couldn't back down now. Even if they do, Emily said, her voice a steady anchor, they can't erase what we're trying to build. And that's worth fighting for. As her words hung in the air, a deep silence followed. Would they hold on to this fire, or would it dwindle before it had a chance to shine? The uncertain path ahead loomed larger than ever, whispering promises of both hope and fear. What would the next meeting reveal, and would they be ready for whatever challenges awaited them? The town gathered once again, but this time, hope and energy surged through the crowd like an unstoppable wave. The air buzzed with anticipation, each heartbeat filled with the promise of a brighter future. The meeting wasn't just a formality, it was a turning point for everyone involved. Emily stood front and center, flanked by supportive faces. Kevin and Sharon exchanged encouraging nods, a spark of unity radiating from them. The chatter melted away as the room focused on something larger than their individual fears. They were part of a collective force. With a deep breath, Emily glanced at the audience before her, each person who had a stake in this journey, whether they were a figurehead or a steadfast janitor. Today, she began, her voice steady and powerful, we share who we are as a company, not for the boardroom alone, but for each other. We're going to celebrate our diverse talents, the stories that form our fabric. Cheers echoed, a chorus of affirmation that filled her with warmth. The room transformed into a canvas of collaboration. Departments shuffled their best representatives to the front, their eyes gleaming with pride as they shared their successes. Emily felt alive in that moment, witnessing the passion that surged forward, a symphony of voices connecting in a way they never had the courage to before. In each presentation, hearts opened like flowers under the sun. Projects showcasing teamwork, innovation, and community involvement poured forth. Greg shared how a team initiative provided school supplies to local children, igniting applause that left everyone on their feet. Sarah's initiative around wellness created a culture where employees felt valued, their daily victories acknowledged. Then it was Kevin's turn, and his journey from the bottom to becoming a vital contributor resonated deeply in the room. We are not just workers. We're human beings striving for more than profit margins. We shine brighter when we cultivate a culture of support. The crowd erupted with excitement again, and Emily felt her heart swell with pride. Sharon stepped forward, her mop now replaced by a microphone, her voice calm yet filled with conviction. Every story you heard today matters. Those stories are what keeps this company grounded. If our leadership recognizes that their decisions impact people, we'll create not just a company, but a family. Her words set off another thunderous applause, a wave of solidarity washing over the room. Each cheer felt like a pulse, echoing through the hearts of those present. Emily beamed, tears glimmering in her eyes. This was their moment, a brilliant shift into a safer, brighter future. As the presentations wrapped, Emily began to notice glances exchanged among executives. Were they moved? The transformation of the narrative hung in the air, alive with possibility and sincerity. Finally, the moment came for the CEO to speak. She stood in front of the crowd, contemplative, and the atmosphere turned still. You've all shown an incredible spirit here today. This resonance you share is palpable. I sincerely must consider our next steps. Emily's breath caught. Could this lead to a change they all desired? Tentative gestures of applause began, uncertainty still lingering. The CEO raised a hand, silencing the crowd. However, this requires us to adapt as leaders too. Change will not come without commitment from both sides. But we're willing to put in that commitment. Kevin shouted, breaking the spell, his passion infectious. We're ready to make that change together. More voices joined in. Together. They chanted, an empowering rallying cry that echoed through the venue. Emily felt a rush of adrenaline. Let us move forward with this united front. Let us show that the heart of this company lies within each worker, whether they stand at a desk or clean the floor. The energy in the room bubbled over, crackling like fireworks. The message was loud and clear. They could no longer be dismissed or shrouded in shadows but would rise as a united force, balancing ambition with humility. And just like that, they had rekindled a flame that couldn't be extinguished. With connections stronger than they'd ever known, committed to uplift one another, each employee felt stronger, more essential. In that space, Emily realized that true leadership wasn't just about numbers, it was about uplifting the human spirit. The smiles, laughter, and passion she witnessed ignited an unshakable truth: they were all on this journey together. As the meeting concluded, there was an air of resolution that replaced the anxiety. They weren't set out to merely survive as a company but to flourish as a community. And with that, Emily knew, this was her new beginning for herself, for Henry, for Sharon, and for every voice yearning to be acknowledged. Everyone deserved a place at the table, and together, they would pave the road toward a compassionate future. So as she stepped into the sunlight of that small town, she felt lighter, her path illuminated by unity. And she knew this was just the start of something beautiful. Now, if you felt inspired by their journey and want to witness more heartwarming transformations, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for the channel. Leave a like now to keep us thriving and feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us spread the spark of unity and hope.